I'm not the biggest fan of French cinema. In fact, I mostly hate it. The only Godard that I can stomach is Alphaville, which is a great film. Like, I'll give him that. He made a pretty fucking good film with that one. But anything else I find pretty unwatchable and deeply insufferable. However, these two Frenchmen hit me in just the right cinematic spot, even though I find mostly anything French distasteful and off putting. With these two, I love nothing more than getting snuggled up in our little fucked up pea pod together. Tonight I got for you Mandibles that came out in 2021, with Dogman that came out in 2024. Quentin Dupieux, which I've had to look up the pronunciation of his name like so many fucking times because I think it's like super fucked up French, like Quentin Dupieux. It's like I'm not saying it like that, okay? It's Quentin. That's how we're saying the first name, and fine, I will give you the sufferable French pronunciation, Quentin Dupieux. Happy, but I think that stupid Frenchman name aside, that he is a suspiciously underknown director. You know, all these people claim to love films, but they've never heard of anything outside of Rubber. And, most people only know Rubber. And most people know Rubber. But I don't think it's his greatest introduction. And I love his fucking films. And I will shout it from every rooftop. I will move mountains for him. I will climb to the tallest buildings and shout his name, even if it means putting on a dumb fuck French accent. That's how much I love you, man. He is one of those bizarre goofballs who just makes films that light up my life. He brings the Tim and Eric experience to cinemas around the world. In fact, Eric Wareheim has been in his films. And this film is definitely his cutest. So the film centers around two idiot friends who find this giant fly in the trunk of a stolen car. They're the kind of guys that, they never have a plan. They're just always kind of flying by the seat of their pants, whether that means stealing or coming up with some get rich quick scam that seems to scam them more than anyone else. um, and the fly is massive. It's probably Bugly size. I mean, I'd say this thing is about a 60-pound buzzing bundle of absolute joy. I love her. I love her so much. But instead of treating this thing like the magical being that she so unmistakably is, these two act like they discovered a tied up dead body in the back. Like, it's like they're more concerned with, like, oh, how this is gonna fuck up our day, rather than understanding that it's like you just discovered something that could actually make you guys rich. So they adopt the fly, of course, under the pretense of a plan, but it's the most roundabout, absurd plan that's just about, like, it's just bound to end in tragic failure. And they think, well, we'll teach this adorable abomination how to steal things for us. Of course, they start by trying to lead her around on a leash, but she's not budging. And she does have a name, by the way, Dominique. So right away, I'm liking where these guys' heads are at, you know? They gave her a name, and a really cute one at that. And I also fell in love with their little not so secret handshake, Toro, which seems to have the same meaning as bro. It's a very versatile phrase that can be used in just about any context, depending on the inflection. And the movie is taken to the most ridiculous conclusion, where they kind of fall into this mistaken identity and they have to pretend to be old friends with people that they supposedly went to high school with. And with each glaringly unconvincing trip down memory lane, they somehow keep fighting for their lives and this half baked scheme to get babes. Of course, naturally, they have to hide the fly, and you're thinking, this is all set up to end in ruin. But debut. It's one of those guys you just can't predict. Much like in his fantastic Smoking Causes Coughing, which sets up one premise and then becomes an anthology piece that causes your own sanity to meld with the film. You start to question, how is this becoming so enjoyably easy to follow? But expect the unexpected when it comes to Depew. Always. His mind doesn't function in a way that is tethered to the same reality that we're living in. And he delivers an ending that had me floating on a cloud out of the theater. Cute, cute, cute. A+ work, Quentin. Then we got Dogman. Of course, not to be confused with the children's book series turned movie. Dogman is a French film in English set in America. And I paired these two for the cuteness element, of course. Although Dogman is not a lighthearted piece like the cartoon or Mandibles, it follows a guy who was so severely abused by his dad, he's now disabled. But he finds a kinship with dogs, since he was locked outside in a pen with them during his childhood. But instead of perpetuating his father's anger and hatred, he's channeled this into love. And murder, too, of course, but only in a vigilante sense. He's not exactly white hat or black hat, but more disco balled fancy hat. He helps people and animals alike. He, like Mandibles, trains his brood of displaced dogs to rob. It sustains their simple lifestyle, allows him to care for his flop house full of cutie pies. It becomes the most adorable little caper and captured my heart instantly. In many ways, this film becomes like art house Joker in a kindred sense. The film's told through a series of vignettes where we get the full story of what brought him to a jailhouse psychiatrist. He's psychotic, but in a very passive, almost soft way. He views reality in a completely fluid and free sense. He talks about love in its many forms and how he transmutes this as a very soulful, very elegant drag performance. He's a person who lives with pageantry in his veins, but he's multifaceted, embodying both the vulnerability and tenderness of entertainer with the intimidating feral protector. It doesn't have as happy as an ending as Mandibles, but it crescendos in a euphoric catharsis. Highly, highly recommend this one. I figured we needed a little fun one since the mood has been drab and the vibe way off. Because it's time to indulge in a little sweet insanity for a bit. Cuteness Reigns. Have an amazing time checking these two out, and I'll see you in the next one.